What is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast. This is episode 594. I am your host, Steve V, alongside Jeremy Ross Lopez. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm really good. How are you?
Pretty good. Of course, joining us is Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. My cold is almost gone, so that's a positive thing.
Been lingering, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh, I don't understand it, but I mean, it's getting better, so I can't complain too much.
Got it. Well, I am here in Puerto Vallarta where it's very hot, but I'm having a good time. We're having a mural painted in the condo that we host on Airbnb here, and it's actually looking really good. So good things are happening here. Jeremy, you spent the weekend, and next weekend you'll be in P-Town, yes? What can you tell us about it?
It's definitely been very relaxing. I've been visiting the beaches close by, not actually in town, but next weekend I'll be there for a drag show and for dinner. It was Carnival this past week, and I saw a bunch of awesome looks that were in the parade and all that fun stuff.
Love it there. Oh,
Amazing.
So fun in P-Town. You know, one funny thing that I get a notice on Instagram almost daily is the boat slip, the famous boat slip in P-Town.
Oh, yeah.
And they live stream their tea dance almost every single day. And sometimes I'll just log on there just to see who's there. And it's kind of like...
I didn't know that they do that.
Yeah, log on to their thing and you'll get notifications about it. And it's just kind of fun to see what music they're playing, who's there. It's kind of like a romper room back in the day. Like, who can I see that's there? Who can I
saw the photos of the on Thursday night, the Carnival, and someone had like the crinoline skirt on and like the whole, because it was like revolution and evolution or something, and it was all like a lot of medieval like costumes and things like that. It looked really fun and cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Kodi, I trust you're doing well, holding down the fort in New York. What can you tell us?
It's warm. The rain comes out of nowhere. It's kind of crazy, but I'm here taking care of dogs. Dog sitting for a friend of mine, and Brooklyn is popping. The streets are alive, and I'm having a great time.
Great end of summer fun. I love it. Well, you can always subscribe to our newsletter that we come out every week, actually on Wednesdays. And if you want to, go to our website, TAGSPodcast.com, and click on the newsletter, and you'll be added to it to keep up with us. And you can also get some free content that you won't get on our social media. While you're there, consider grabbing a tier and supporting Tags Podcast. Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast, and let's get into some hot topics. Last week we were all about the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, and I didn't realize this, but somebody that was in attendance, but who didn't give a speech, but he was interviewed by CBS, was Billy Porter. And they were asked all kinds of reasons why he was there. Of course, it's his first DNC, and he was really excited about the current ticket, Harris ticket, that he hopes will be a win and that he will be represented as well as our community. And, he was getting dragged, though, a little bit among the right, because apparently he was at a garden party where Joe Biden was at, and he kissed President Biden's hand, as one would do, right? And although most people were happy to see this happen, some people were like giving him on social media, like, why would a black man kneel and kiss a white man's hand like that? And what he definitely clapped back and said, what those social media trolls didn't know was that I had been invited to the White House that morning to sit on and sit and talk about solutions. And what they don't know and what they didn't see in the photos that they didn't run was that I kissed the vice president's hand too. I kissed the second gentleman's hand as well. And what they're not talking about, and what makes whatever that was idiotic, is the drawing that you put me up against is a slave thanking the man that freed them. I will kiss that man's hand to the grave, and whatever noise that was going on over there is ridiculous. So he also says that, at 55, black. He's been black his whole gay life. And what I do know is that as a queer man in this world, I'm not supposed to be on the front row with the president and the first lady. He said, I'm supposed to be hiding in a closet somewhere silent. That's what that moment was about. And please understand, daddy ain't ever going to be silent. And of course, he had a fabulous outfit on. I think he had a really cool dress. I mean, Jeremy, when you hear this and when you hear Billy say that he doesn't really like to give credence to anything the trolls are saying on social media, is he right on that?
I think that's like a great motto to like live by, and I know that he is very outspoken and wears whatever he wants and has like a great attitude and confidence about him, and I think he's hilarious and a really great actor as well, and I love that.
Yeah, I agree too. And Kodi, when you hear this, we're going to talk about another story about where you get your news and how it can actually affect outcomes, important outcomes. But when they're trolling him about a black man kissing a white man's hand on his knees, but they don't get the full story that he was actually kissing, Kamala Harris's hand and her husband. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm looking at a picture now, and it doesn't look like he's on his knees. It looks like he's just bent over kissing his
Bowing
hand.
down.
Yes, exactly. And I think that for me, I probably wouldn't do this, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, he did it. He wanted to express his gratitude for whatever Joe Biden has done in this world to help out his community, and he's showing his appreciation, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I've met Billy Porter. I went to the release of his book, and his
Did you bow down
latest
to
album.
him?
I would have. See, there's
Yeah.
a difference there. And he's been through a lot in his life. He's so wise and he's seen a lot of things. So I understand that this is something that he thought he had to do or that he wanted to do. And I totally respect that. And I respect him. And, I might have sat him down and been like, well, what was going through your mind when that happened? But I wouldn't judge him for it because who am I to judge somebody's actions?
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than in Britain when they do that to the Queen, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have that hierarchy. We have a president and we have a vice president, and when you're showing your respect, and I think he was almost bringing in a little bit of that British culture. I know he just got back from London. He was talking about the West End and seeing Sunset Boulevard. And so maybe that was lingering on in his mind. But to just separate it that he only did it to one person is inaccurate and makes it seem like he's bowing down to the white man, when in reality, he did this as almost a royal thing for the entire administration, or at least the vice president and her, the husband.
Exactly.
And so it's not accurate to say that. And I just think he's just showing an appreciation for the administration and the work that they've done,
And
much
to
like they
piggyback,
do in Britain. So
yeah,
the UK.
I hear
So
that.
yeah.
And to piggyback off of that, this was a Juneteenth celebration that this happened at. And of course, he wants to express his gratitude because other administrations, I've never seen them do this.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Right. So we got to show love and let's keep it going. We reported on these two before. They're TikTok stars. I'm talking about Nikki Champa and Pierre Boo. Do you guys know those guys? They're TikTok sensations. They both have, one has 13.9 million followers. The other has close 12.9 million followers. And Champa's 28, Boo is 37. They actually look kind of alike. We had reported a year ago when they said they did a very dramatic TikTok video announcing their separation from their marriage after really only being married, I think, a couple of years. And, fans actually weren't that surprised. They got married in August of 2022 in Las Vegas. They are content creators. They started doing content together since 2017. But of course, as things weren't working out, they started to kind of, fall apart within their what they would post. And now they just announced that they didn't announce this. They just actually a year ago was a separation, and now they're announced their divorce. But they haven't really commented on it. But I don't know, Jeremy, when you like live, they're so young, it didn't work out. Much of their content creation was as a couple. Now we almost have to see it play out. They're going to continue to probably do well and post separately. But what do you think about a couple that like really goes in together like this when you're so young, you get married, most of your content is based on like association with each other, but people will have backlash towards you as well. What do you think about this?
I think it's kind of sad that it didn't work out, and I'm kind of really shocked that Pierre is 37. They both look so young.
Right.
But yeah, I think it. I wonder. It makes you wonder if they had some sort of like either really good relationship off of the camera, like outside of recording for social media, or if it was all just busy and based on providing content to all of their followers.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of their videos had them doing choreography, dances, pranking one another, having fun with actual accents. Boo does like a French accent. Champa is American, updating fans on their fitness program. But Kodi, when all of that goes away and you've based everything kind of on this marriage and you two together, do you think people are going to follow them? And what's the psychological effects of this?
Well, I think that people have gotten attached to them already. So I can see people still following them and wanting to see their journey. And who knows what can happen with these two because they could even get back together. I don't know. Maybe that's just the romantic in me because from what I understand, I think that they were saying that they just grew apart and their values and their what they held dear, it just went in separate ways, which you can decipher whatever you want from that. But I think that that is something that, well, honestly, I don't think that that's something that they can come back from now that I say it and I kind of think through it.
Yeah.
Because they are that when you have different values and a different foundation, then there's not a whole lot you can do to save the relationship, in my personal opinion. I think that when you are young and you get together like they did, because how long were they together? I'm not quite sure.
They were married 2 years only and a little bit
Oh,
and together longer though. But yeah,
okay. Yeah, but
no.
with they're still pretty young. So, but I think that when you are young and you don't think about the future and what's down the road, then you can you don't take into account how you are growing together as opposed to growing apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. Relationships are hard enough, especially
Mm.
these days. And then, when you put stuff on social media, there's that. I know I put a little bit about my new relationship on. Jeremy, I know you have images like that. But when you start working together, when your whole basis is about your couplehood, I think that's when you get into kind of a dicey situation. I mean, do you monitor what you put out there with your boyfriend, Jeremy?
I don't think so much about it. I think I have fun with it and just post things that I want to share, but I definitely do keep things like a bunch of things private as well. So I think when you don't take it too seriously and you just share like fun little moments together or group moments or out with friends and stuff, that stuff is good. But I definitely wouldn't be up for sharing like every single moment with
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah, it's kind of dicey, but we wish them well separately, and hopefully it's a smooth divorce, and they can be successful outside of it. Well,
Can I add
we,
one more thing?
yeah,
Yeah, well, their relationship was a business, basically. So it
right,
went on. So that in and of itself can be a little bit dicey, and I think that that might have been what caused some of the breakdown. But I mean, I get what they're saying about growing apart. But when your relationship is the business, your business is your relationship, then you have to be very mindful of that and not stray down the wrong path.
Yeah, I mean, you speak of business, and Rihanna cast them in her Fenty Eau de Parfum commercial, actually, and they got probably a hefty paycheck out of it. But there, of course,
Mm,
were a couple in it, and they were getting jobs like that. So we'll see how they can transition out of that into their own solo business projects, because I think when the business model is based on a couple, it makes it a little bit more challenging. So we'll see. We'll keep
yeah.
reporting on them. We were talking about misinformation earlier, and there's been a lot of misinformation on Mpox. I'm talking about monkeypox and a possible lockdown that in the UK. There's been a lot of searches for the term Mpox virus lockdown. They spiked last week with a series of videos. Some, of course, from UK-based TikToker who describes himself as a life coach, said our government is going to put us into lockdown. And a Canadian TV clip also declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization and captioned it another lockdown. And then finally, a third video went viral and was viewed almost 2 million times, with Family Guy, you guys know the show Family Guy, joking
Mhm.
about
Hmm.
the potential of a second COVID style lockdown. But what they were referring to was Mpox. By the way, none of this is accurate or happening. In fact, all of it, the WHO has had to go on and say, no, we are not anywhere near a lockdown, certainly nothing like COVID. Well, there are measures out there because we've talked about Mpox. Newer strains are coming in from Africa. They've reached the UK. And like I was saying last week, I had got a notice from my insurance uh, in New York that I should probably get a new Mpox vaccination because now it is lapsed. And remember that 2-shot thing, Kodi, that we got
Yep.
couple years ago? We probably should get it again. And I was
Let's
happy
go.
that my insurance was on it. But this is all misinformation. And Jeremy, when you rely on your information coming from things like TikTok, what do you expect?
I mean, I definitely would expect the wrong information and just kind of more alarming news that way. And I think it's good to talk to the people that you surround yourself with for like a backup of facts or just things that you are looking to find the actual truth about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Kodi, when you hear this and when you hear like people are actually spread, I mean, a Canadian television show is spreading misinformation, and people, 2 million people viewed a, a misfire on the threat of another lockdown. What do you say to this?
Well, first of all, I think that people are very afraid of having another COVID lockdown. I think that we're all still kind of traumatized by that. So, I mean, I understand where they're coming from as far as that is concerned, but as far as the misinformation, there's so much misinformation out there. I saw a video of this little, he's 12 years old at the DNC. He was interviewing some senator or something like that. And he was asking the senator, uh, where he got his sources from, and the senator couldn't say where he got his sources from for the information. So in my mind, that means that that's misinformation if you can't provide a source. So I think that we should all be wary of the misinformation that's being transmitted out there in the world, and we should all do our own research once we hear something.
Yeah, and look for legitimate news sources, and you can have a few of them. I like to have a few of them, not just one leaning left or right, but at least have a few sources. But definitely, I get, like Jeremy was saying last week, I get trends from TikTok and I get fun stuff. I don't get my new news information about potential global health scares from TikTok or Twitter. It's just a stupid practice to follow, I think. So, yeah, stick to that. And okay, this caught my attention because somebody recently was asking for some advice, and there was a, somebody that was he had a really interesting question about the position of sex that you have, and what does that really mean about intimacy? What am I talking about? I'm talking about a total bottom. Claims his words, I'm a total bottom here, and I carry no bottom shame. It's also just been my preference, and I don't give into homophobic notions that there's something less than about being the receptive partner in the bedroom. And that said, he had come across an article that made him question something. Well, the author was saying that if you only have sex from behind, aka doggy style, you're actually not engaging in real intimacy with your partner. And they went on to imply that when you're looking the other direction, you might as well be having sex with anyone. And it's purely about physical act and nothing to do with the person who's giving it to you. Now, just talking about the last story where Kodi said you should know who your sources are. Well, I don't know who the source was that was saying it, but I do kind of have to agree a little bit with it that while it can be hot, sex doggy style, and fun, I enjoy sex with my current boyfriend where we're looking into each other's eyes, kind of not all lovey-dovey, but I mean, it's hot and we're getting down and dirty in it. But we definitely tend to have more like the missionary style. And I do have to say, looking into his eyes, there's much more intimacy where we can go from rough to intimate at the same, kind of go back and forth with it. But I thought about mixing it up recently, but after hearing this, I'm not sure. But I don't know that there's any truth to it. What do you think about what this guy's inquiring about, Jeremy? And do you think there's less intimacy when you don't see your partner's eyes?
I don't really agree, just because I think that there's ways to be sensual and let your partner know, like, make them feel comfortable, especially in that position, and also just to have the connection between the both of you, whether you're like kissing the back of their neck or holding them by the chest. There's just like different ways to make them feel like one with you and still feel connected without looking directly in their eyes. So that's my opinion on I don't think that it's any lesser than, it's just different.
Yeah, I say mix it up too, where you don't just find yourself having the same type of sex all the time. That's always a good key too. But you're
Mhm.
right. I mean, it's intimate enough if someone's inside of you and no, it's not anybody. You know your partner's dick and what it feels like. And so, and like I agree with you as well. There you can whisper in someone's ear. It's only your voice that's he's hearing. That could be very intimate, and there's certain talk that people share between each other that's only two people that have been together that are intimate that you may not get at all from at the Eagle on a Saturday night. um, Kodi, when you hear this, does he have a point here, or is it intimate any style?
I can see the point. I don't necessarily all the way agree with it because, like you guys were saying, you can make anything intimate, but I definitely have had those moments where I am hitting it from the back, and I know that it could be it could be anybody, and it's just not something that is very intimate. It's just it's disconnected a little bit, and it's not as involved as I like to have my sex. So I understand the point and where it's coming from, but again, if you're with your boyfriend, it's going to be intimate. If you're with a partner or somebody you're friends with benefits that you see frequently, then you can make it intimate. I have yet to learn how to make it intimate with somebody in the Eagle, but as soon as I learn, I'm going to be teaching classes. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if the intimacy really is for just somebody you meet necessarily. You just kind of
Yeah.
want hot sex, I think.
Hey.
But I think you also want hot sex, I think, with a partner too. But you also want it hopefully to get to another level at times too. That is intimate. And I don't think there's one way. I do think they do say the eyes are the window to the soul. And so I do think looking into someone's eyes can be intense and it can be hot at the same time. And I think with the lack of that, that's why I think you need to mix it up a little bit. So, but interesting point that, to kind of think about. And I think my advice is just to kind of mix it up so you have a nice variety of things up in your hat that you can always kind of pull from. So anyway, I like that. Hey guys, let's talk confidence. We all want it and strive for it, right? The Olympics have been so exciting, and the athletes have been giving me personal confidence based on their extraordinary performances. Let's face it, confidence doesn't just happen naturally. You have to work on it. And for athletes, it's practiced both mentally and physically. Confidence in the bedroom comes from good nutrition, exercise, rest, and a little natural help from our friends over at Joy Mode. Joy Mode's Sexual Performance Booster is an all-natural and science-backed solution to increase blood flow, firmness, stamina, and performance. It's so easy to take. Simply take one of their green palm-sized packets that you carry with you, along with 6 to 8 ounces of water before playtime. It dissolves easily, just like your favorite electrolyte drink, so put it in your water bottle. Worried about taking over-the-counter pills or prescription-based drugs? I am. Joy Mode's Sexual Performance Booster is all natural and can boost nitric oxide in your body, which not only supports your erection quality long-term, but also increases blood flow circulation. This allows for your cardiovascular system to pump blood more seamlessly and effectively to the areas of your body that need it, whether it's during workouts, sexual activity, or your regular daily exercise. The 30-pack comes in a perforated box, perfect for your supplement cabinet, pantry, or bathroom vanity, and it's the perfect 1-month supply. Support your erections, athletic performance, heart health, and overall quality of life with Joy Mode. You guys, I'm so excited about Joy Mode as I'm back shooting and filming for my adult content every week with some collabs on the horizon. But I need confidence every week to perform and not worry about being hard, firm, and ready. Instead, I want to focus more on the content. And I do that with the Sexual Performance Booster. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to over-the-counter drugs after trying Joy Mode. So go to usejoymode.com and get 20% off with the code TAGS, TAGS at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TAGS, TAGS at usejoymode.com. Great sex solved naturally. Let's keep going though, because we all love a good jockstrap, and the jockstrap just had a birthday, 150th birthday. It's a gay milestone. But just to give you a little bit of a history of where did we get the jockstrap, let me just give you a little bit of history, and then we'll bring it to today. But it was actually started as a practical sports gear, not queer hedonism. Jockstrap date back all the way to cobblestone streets of 19th century Boston. They were designed in 1874 by C.F. Benet for the Chicago sporting goods company Sharp and Smith. And then early bicycles called penny farthings. Those are those old school bicycles where they have a huge wheel in the front and then two, almost like a tricycle. They look oversized. And the guys that used to ride those would almost be harkened back to the page boy hat, and they'd have cool little vests, and maybe they would have like a mustache where they'd be curled up. I actually saw an homage to it earlier this summer when I was in Lisbon, actually not Lisbon, but in Portugal, in Porta, and I was like, oh, that's so cool looking. I don't know if he was wearing a jockstrap though, because he should have been, because that's what they were made for. They were almost like male bicycle jockeys, if you will. But bringing it into the 20th century, of course, they started to appear in sports as a protective. You'd actually have a cup underneath it, and the straps were actually to hold you in place. So it had a point. But of course, in the 70s and through the 80s, jockstraps became kind of what we now know a cult favorite within our community. And recently, this is, I love this piece here. It's I just had it here. Nasty Pig, who we all know and love, CEO David Lauterstein, actually, they created the first jockstrap for our community, which I didn't know that. And that's really cool. They're celebrating a huge milestone as well. And they brought it into making them not just muted colors, but giving them some style. And we all know and love them. I'm a huge fan. Jeremy, I mean, are you a fan of the jockstrap? Do you wear them? Does your boyfriend wear them? Can you say on the birthday of one of our favorite gears?
I think we're both definitely into them, and I find them sexy. And I mean, I definitely don't find them the most comfortable, but they are
Right.
very hot and sexy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I find them more comfortable than a thong for sure. Um, but they've really come full circle with, Kim Kardashian wearing it on a cover. I mean, we've seen them all over the place. I know you're a fan of them, Kodi. What can you say on the 150th birthday of the jockstrap?
Just happy birthday. And I love a nice, I know, right?
Happy. Can we get a little happy?
Happy. I got a little nose thing. Happy birthday to ya.
I love it.
That's yeah. Yeah, I love wearing a job strap. It makes me feel sexy. I would wear one roaming around the city, going to the gym, just for a little secret between me and my body and my mind. And it just makes me feel like I can take over the world. So it's a good confidence boost. And thanks to the person that invented them, because I really enjoy them. I like a thong too. I've gotten into thongs recently. Isn't that wild? It's crazy. In my old
Yeah, I
age,
don't
my
like
big
them
age.
as much. They don't do it for me as much. But I also like wearing a jockstrap too if I'm going to an event too. And I know it's like you said, Jeremy, they're not the most comfortable, but it's kind of that cool thing where you wear something underneath and nobody knows but you, or maybe
Hmm.
So hot.
you flash somebody when you're in the bathroom. But it's kind of a cool thing to wear, I think. Years ago, a friend of mine told me they were Wall Street guys, and a friend of mine went to hug this other guy, and they had their suits on. And when he hugged him, because he hadn't seen him in a while, he felt a harness underneath the suit, like this guy was wearing a
Ooh.
harness, a leather harness. And my friend thought it was so hot, and it was probably really hot too, like temperature hot as well. But I do think that like those little moments that you kind of have to yourself keeps things spicy, and those in the know might see a flash of it here and there, and that can keep just illusions going. And I'm all for it. So yeah, absolutely. So happy birthday to the jockstrap. My goodness, that's so cool. Let's switch gears to a little bit of fashion since we have Jeremy on the show. And these are actually some trends that are going to make their way to next spring summer. So we're in the current spring summer. I'm going to put it in our link here, and it's trends that have made their way on the runway recently in Paris, of all places. We love it. And I'll go through some of these. You tell me if they're in. Well, pink is a wink of pink is going to be back. And it's kind of not the pink that we've been seeing, but more of like a delicate, subtle hue of blush pink. Made its way into so many fashion trends. And I kind of like it. They have it paired up like I think it's a sheer raincoat that's really cool. But I think like a hue of it could be kind of cool, like a scarf. Or Jeremy, what do we think about the hue of pink making its way into 2025 spring?
I kind of love it actually, and I think for spring and summer, when everyone has a little bit more color and tan, it is a great color that pops. I don't love a full coat of it, but I wouldn't mind
Right.
accents of it for sure.
Kodi, what's your word on this?
I love pink. I think it's so beautiful, and I think it was my favorite color when I was a kid, but then I got shamed into changing my favorite color. I just think it's
Oh,
so demure and so mindful and so cutesy.
I
So
love
I
it.
love pink.
I love it too. I love a hue of it. I think a little pop of it here and there, a tank top moment is really great. I'm here for it. Let's keep going with these trends. A brooch. Let's broach the subject. Brooches can be found, You can get them everywhere. I actually have a few. I think they're kind of cool. I often think when you just buy a suit off the rack, or you just want to spruce something up to make it signature to you. And you can get some really cool brooches at antique stores. You can find some really cool ones. I'm here for it. I just think it adds that little pop. Jeremy, are we broaching the subject or no?
Yes, I love it too. I love the little accent of it, and you can find some really cool ones, and sometimes they look awesome on baseball caps and jackets and all that fun stuff.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of pins too, like just buttons that you can put. I put some on my baseball caps. Kodi, what's the word on broaching the subject?
Love it. I think that I'm so happy that fashion is embracing more dainty things, especially for men, because I feel like men's fashion can get kind of boring and stale. But now that we're adding other elements to it, I'm very excited.
Love it. And big bags are going to be making their comeback. All sorts of bags, but we've seen the Merce, the fanny packs, all different sizes. Some are too small to carry anything. I don't mind a big bag. It depends on where you're going. But are you a fan of the larger style bags that'll be making their way? They were shown at the Hermes show, Jeremy.
I kind of like it for travel, but I definitely am not one to carry bags in general, especially just like day to day. I just bring my wallet and my phone with me and chapstick or whatever. But I mean, for travel, it's nice. It's just I wouldn't be schlepping a huge bag around daily.
Yeah, we do a lot of that, Kodi, right in New York because we have to.
Yeah, but I like a nice backpack instead of a bag like this. I'm definitely with Jeremy on this because it's very cumbersome to carry around a bag like this. So I've done it before.
I'm kind of a fan. I have a few bags, and I might be sporting this. I don't know where I'm going,
Okay.
but I will stuff it with some goodies. Kodi, this is right up your alley. There's a new crop top in town. This time for spring, summer 2025, it actually rests right at the line there. So you might be able to get like a little bit of a peekaboo. The way they have it in the current picture that we are looking at, it actually it's like the belt is covering, so you don't really see anything. But I might be here for this one. But would this get your fancy, or is it too long for you?
Oh, I love it. I think that it's just so tactful, and I could wear this to a place where that's very classy, because my other ones, they're not classy, they're very brat. Okay. It's all about
Very
having a
brat.
good time in those crop tops that I wear, but this one is very classy. I could see myself going to a million different places, a museum perhaps,
Oh,
in this
oh.
one. I know, right? She's that girl. In a crop top at a museum.
Okay, so Jeremy, they said just a hint of a happy trail was shown at the Prada as slinky models wore crop sweaters with slouchy trousers that exposed a hip bone or two. Are you here for it or not?
No, and I definitely don't. I don't like happy trails. They don't turn me on at all. So I don't like a midriff showing on a guy. I don't find that sexy, but to each his own.
Yeah. And lastly, I'm just not in this at all. Plaid is normally associated with fall, winter, but it's making its way where you mix up different plaids. And it's just the way listeners, we're looking at it. It's a blue plaid shirt with a red, darker blue plaid buttoned all the way to the top. It looks like a clown to me, and I am definitely not here for this. I don't really
That
like
hair
plaid
doesn't
at
help,
all.
by the
Yeah, I
way.
hate plaid, to be honest. I mean, Jeremy, are you a fan of this? Made for
No,
plaid?
I hate it too. It's awful. It's
Cody?
just like
Uh,
it's kind of like Ronald McDonald like goes to school or something. Like I don't know, I just don't like it. It looks like a hot mess.
Yeah,
uh,
and in this heat that we're in, who's wearing this look all buttoned up like this? It's just,
I
yeah.
mean, I love plaid, but this is too much. The hair, I said it already, but I'm gonna say it again. It does not help. So I think that we need to rethink this. And he's got on shorts too, and two plaid long sleeve shirts. No, ma'am. It's a no for me. Okay.
Yeah, and just a couple more fashion. I put it in your link. Swimwear, Swim Week happens all over. They do it in LA, they do it in New York. Well, the last one that just happened was in Sin City, and they had some really cool designers there. It was Swim Week Las Vegas, powered by Art Hearts Fashion in partnership with Resorts World. They had 15 designers. They showed off their latest in swimwear, what we can kind of expect. So there was designers like Mr. Triple X, Charnel, Guy Swimwear, Merlin Castell, Joseph Oren, Diana Couture, just to name a few of the ones that were making their way. There were some traditional styles, but then there was some like off the beaten style. I put it in your feed. Some that were like Chanel Guy Swimwear. The first of it is just like a pair of, I don't know, beige shorts that are not that interesting. But if you continue scrolling down, Merlin Castell had a lace green with this package in front that, I don't know, it just looks really off. And who's going to be wearing this piece, Jeremy?
I don't know. I definitely am not a fan of that minty color or that whole outfit. If it was black or white, maybe, but in that color, it's just off, and the crotch is off, and I don't know. It's odd. There are a bunch of these that I actually do like. I definitely don't like the bikini top either.
Yeah, so for those, I'll post this on Tag's podcast, but there's an actual bikini top that just covers the man's nipples, and I am not here for that either.
Or the daisies and the golf balls either. Those two are a hot mess.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's a whole black like cat suit really in one of these. Who's wearing that? But there's a really cool Love for Upcycling brand that
Ah,
kind of takes men's wear into shorts and puts ties, like actual ties for suits, and kind of incorporated them into the show, like wraps it around for a belt. And then it wraps around one side of the tie will wrap around your leg. I kind of like that trend. Did you like that, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I might have to look into those. Anything spark your fancy, Kodi, when you look at some of these, or you're sticking to your G strings and your tiny swimwear?
Speedos.
Yeah.
I kind of like the bikini top for the on the man. I think it's kind of
Really?
sexy. I know it's very interesting. I don't like the man with the birds on his shoulder. That is just strange to me.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with Jeremy. The daisies and the golf balls are just a bit too far. So, but yeah, I could see myself wearing the Michael Ingo stuff. I think I said that wrong, but
Okay.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah. These are
But
some
yeah,
interesting. We'll post this on TAGSPodcast.com. Let us know what you think. All right. Let's give some advice. This came from a Redditor where they said, better to make noise during sex or not. I have a really loud orgasm, and that's not going to change, but I think it's fun to moan, etc. during the process. It seems like most guys are silent. What do you think? This is an interesting one. I know we've talked about it in various ways before. We've talked about it in the past where, like in big cities where you live in small apartments, maybe the walls are thin. We've almost taught ourselves, maybe you lived with your parents for years and years and you couldn't be loud, and you almost like trained yourself to not be loud during sex. But I do think it's healthy. A healthy orgasm is usually side by side with being loud, or not being loud but voicing it. I think when you hold that in, it's not so healthy. So I mean, Jeremy, are you into noise making during sex, loud orgasms, or no?
Yeah, I think it's hot, and it also just shows that you're like pleasing your partner or the other person. And I mean, I think it's also one of those things that I always go back to. I think it's better to not think about it so much and just go off of your like being in the moment and your actual feeling being present.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if there's like, if there's people in the house, don't be loud and noisy. I don't think. Be mindful of that. You don't want it to make people feel uncomfortable. But if there's no one around, my goodness. I mean, Jeremy, when you go visit your boyfriend in the Cape, I mean, you could probably be as loud as you want, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Kodi, what do you advice do you think he's actually asking the question, is it better to make noise during sex or not?
I think it's better to make noise, definitely. I think that it gives you a sense of freedom during sex, which is something that you definitely want when you are having sex, because it just makes everything flow a lot better. So if you're trying to restrain yourself and be quiet, and worried about making noise or doing anything that is completely natural for when you're having sex, it just kind of tightens up everything, and it's going to make it, for me personally, it makes it harder to actually enjoy myself. So I let go, I let loose. If somebody is in the house, I'll be a little bit respectful, but if I'm having a good time, you might actually hear some things.
Yeah.
Sorry to y'all.
No, I think it's a good question to consider and ask yourselves, like in your own practicing of sex, just because I think a lot of us have learned to be quiet and silent, and then you might carry that over and not even realize, but you could be maybe have such a more amazing experience if you just release it, literally your voice as well. Many of my tantra guests that have been on the show before say voice and the actually sound of your voice is all a part of our sexuality, and so don't leave that out, and maybe ask yourself, how much noise do you make? And you might be surprised if you might be holding it in. And lastly, some Grinder news. Well, Sabrina Carpenter came out with her album, and she has a song, Slim Pickens, from Short and Sweet, and it seems at the end of the song to sample the Grinder notification sound. And it's still up for debate if it really is, but so many people went on Twitter and was like, did Sabrina Carpenter just sample the Grinder notification sound? It would seem like something she would do, correct, Jeremy? Because I know you're a fan of her.
I mean, yeah, she probably did. I haven't heard it, so I'm not sure, but I honestly would not be surprised.
Exactly. And well, she is possibly using the sound. The US Open will make its way to New York, like it always does, coming in a couple of weeks. And actually, Grinder is going to have a grunt sound for the time frame. You can actually turn on your notifications to sound like a grunt. Why is it during US Open? Well, if you've ever watched a tennis match, there's a lot of I love that sound and I tend to grunt a lot in the gym. In fact, I was working out with a friend here in Puerto Vallarta, and he was making fun of my grunts when I'm like really exhausted. And I don't use Grinder, but if I did, I would definitely turn on this notification because I would like it better than the traditional sound. Are you guys here for this new sound during US Open, Jeremy?
I mean, it definitely sounds interesting and is very on trend for them.
It is. And Kodi, are you a yay or a nay on the grunt sound notification?
Yeah, why not? I think it's fun. It's a good way to get people involved and interested in Grinder again, because I feel like it's kind of fell off a little bit, especially since Sniffies has been around. But I think that this is a good way to get people back in the fold on Grinder.
The good news is you could have it on at the US Open and people wouldn't be like, oh, she's on Grinder. They would just think, oh, it's the tennis players playing. And it would just like
Can
kind
you
of fall in
imagine?
line with it. So nobody's going to really get caught, right? So yeah, I'm here for it. And I like that they're stepping up to the plate. I love the US Open. And, anyways, oh my gosh, so much fun. You can always follow my co host. You can follow Jeremy on the gram at J. Ross Lopez, at J. Ross Lopez. Follow Kodi on the gram at Mr. Maurice. Don't forget, he has a song out, Talk About It, that you can download on Spotify and Apple Music. Kodi, I'm pretty much done with your music video, editing it, and it looks really
What?
good.
Oh
Can't wait
my
to
god, I'm
share
so
it with
excited!
you. I know, it's so
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. Well, that's Cody's decision, but we'll let him decide. You can follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. Go to my Twitter account at TAGSPodcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans and Only Fans. New content every week. Don't forget you can grab a tier on our Patreon page and support the podcast you love, Tags Podcast. Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. And guys, thanks so much. Always so much fun.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
much fun.
And in the meantime, continue having hot,
Hot,
gay,
gay,
Gay
sex.
sex.
Lovely.